Thank you. My name is Lisa Rowan Gillis. I'm the Vice President for Fundraising and for Public Relations at the Home for Little Wanderers. And I was asked to talk a little bit about what the strategies were to build our brand. So I'd like to give you a little background. When I got to the home in 2000, I was the Director of Media Relations. And I asked the person who had the public relations in her title, where I might be able to find some press release archives. And her answer was, we don't really do press releases. We don't have anything. So really, I had nothing to work with, and so we grew the brand from the ground up. What was beautiful about that was that we had just undergone a series of mergers, and we were the New England home, which and Boston Children's Services, which merged in 1999 with a quasi-public group, Charles River Mental Health. And last but not least, in 2003, we merged with Parents and Children's Services. So in a very short period of time, we had 4 different brands merged with one. The name changed, and the name change predates me from the New England home to the home. And it was a deal breaker, I'm told, among the board. So the home prevailed. And to this day, to be quite honest, I have my superb team with me now, but we still struggle with the name. It's the Home for Little Wanderers. It's a very old-timey, 18th century name, which actually grew out of the Civil War, when children were literally wandering the streets of Boston, raising out of trash cans, and a group of businessmen got together. Boston Children's Services has roots back to 1799, when it was the Boston Female Asylum. And that name, we didn't think why. So we did sort of what you suggested. I think probably 8 years ago, Hill Holiday did some work for us. They did research. We brought in focus groups. We brought in outside donors, or donors from our database, and conducted some focus groups about our name and our brand. And what we found out was people weren't exactly sure what we did, but there was such brand equity. There was such recognition in the brand that the executive management team and the board decided we need to run with this. We need to, you can't abandon ship at this point. It's so unique versus something like Boston Children's Services, perfectly wonderful name, but it's sort of, it's just generic. It's generic. Right. So, well, the Home for Little Wanderers is a mouthful, but people really remember it, and it leads to follow-up questions. It leads to engagement. It leads to discussion. What is this? But to be frank, we struggle with it to this day, and hours of discussion. We work on consistency. Christine Robertson, who is our graphic designer and web manager, we've got the details. We know we have people who stray from the fold, and we have to bring them back, and because everybody loves to play with the graphic design elements, and we're pretty strict about it. I mean, I think you have to be. This is our brand. This is our name. It's our reputations. We were also really fortunate to have on our board a gentleman by the name of Tom Simons, who is the president and CEO of Partners in Simons. And he came on in 2003 with the merger of Parents and Children's Services and really gave us a tremendous amount of pro bono work. One of his clients is Blue Cross Blue Shield. So if you go back in time and think 2003, 2004, for those of you who are in this market, he was doing all the Blue Cross Blue Shield ads, but what he was doing was very clever. He was going to nonprofits who had taken on Blue Cross Blue Shield. So he did Mount Auburn Hospital, of which he was on the board of Mount Auburn Hospital. He did the Home for Little Wanderers, and some other, United Way, I think. So we were able to get our name out there in a different way from people thinking we're an orphanage in JP. people think we're an orphanage in JV, so we're constantly trying to educate people that no, in fact, that's not what we do. So he focused on our community-based services with really little kids in one of our programs. And Joan Walsh-Benjamin, who is our CEO, was brand new to the marketplace. So we got to bring Joan out. We got to say we do more than residential services, you know, and basically they did a multi-million-dollar buy throughout New England, and we were able to benefit from that, which was wonderful. He also leveraged relationships with you know, film people and editing people, so that a year later we did a series of public service announcements, which are on our website. If you ever want to go look at them, 30-second PSAs, which very specifically brand us. And what we did, since we can't really use our kids because they're in protective custody, we did point of view from the employees. So employee stories. I worked with Johnny, and you know, this is what happened. He didn't even know how to brush his teeth, and we helped him one tooth at a time. That was one. One other one was a person who was at the Night Children's Center and said, I always have to remember the camera because this might be the only memory they have of their childhood. And that's a staff member. So, you know, it helped us, again, show we're in different parts of the community doing different kinds of things. You know, it's also important, it's not just about the logo. It's not just about the logo. It's, you know, for us, the buckets are marketing or advertising, public relations, special events, you know, the internal audiences. And we kind of have to bucket it that way. Are we saying the same thing across all platforms and social media? So about 7 or 8 years ago, we created some really wonderful partnerships with Channel 5, The Herald, Boston Magazine, WMJX, and have maintained those partnerships for many, many years because we have things that are cyclical. Our Big Wishes for Little Wanderers campaign. Every Christmas, for over 50 years, we've been doing a toy drop sort of fundraiser, an annual fundraiser. And not only do we supply gifts to all of our kids and families, but to 30 other smaller agencies. So it's a great way to brand us in November and December. And that's what people really associate. We get our donors in there. We have to have interesting collateral materials and things in the toy room so that the toy room is branded. Bernie and Phil's and Coldwell Bank are 2 huge supporters and have been for years and years. Their branding in their stores and their outlets. You know, it's as many places as consistently as you can have your presence. We've really grown our web presence over the past 10 years. For example, we've gotten much more systematized in how we reach out to our key stakeholders on our website. We're much more intentional than we've ever been before. Rather than waiting for an event to come up, one of you said, you know, don't just wait for an event. We, you know, yesterday, or the day before yesterday, we sent out something on the Blue Ribbon campaign. April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month. And so we sent that out to our email list and, of course, added our Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, so that people can then pass it forward, you know, and hopefully start a discussion, a meaningful discussion about what they can do. We've created an editorial calendar, a yearly editorial calendar, so we know what's happening over the year. We talk to people at least 24 times during the year via email and email blasts. Of course, we have paper newsletters as well, because many of our donors are older than 70, many, and like to still get their paper. So, so just as an example, in the past 5 years, we've doubled our online donations and doubled our email list. Check that. We've tripled money raised online over the past 5 years, tripled it. Because we've been more intentional. And I think people are more comfortable giving online than they ever have been. We market subject matter experts in the home. So there are certain folks who really know one area, and when we reach out to the media or there's a topical situation, we have press relationships, and we will say, you know, you need to talk to this person, they're the expert in this. And now we've done that for so long that they will call us